Well, it's day 4 of the MSI main stage with coverage brought to you by all of you. I'm joined right now by Caps after an unfortunate loss to FlyQuest in the 0-3 match. Caps, I know obviously not the result that you wanted out of this series. What do you think held G2 back from being able to accomplish their goals?
I think we have been struggling this entire year with being on the same page, and I think towards the end of summer we started getting more so on the same page, and we started understanding what each other wants and what each other needs. But coming here to MSI, this game pace is a lot faster, and I think even right from play-ins, we couldn't really keep up with a lot of teams, and we kind of just ended up playing everyone else's games, and we were lacking the confidence to really make it our game and make it fight on our terms. So we were always just kind of following everyone around the map, always a bit late, always a bit hesitant, and I think we really need to figure out how to think faster and I'm better as well, before we play any other match, to be honest.
Yeah. You mentioned that you feel like the game pace is way faster. How much of that is contributing to G2 struggling in this meta versus just you guys needing to figure out how to mesh together and come up with things in a faster way?
I think usually international teams always play a bit faster.
Yeah.
Obviously, everyone who makes especially MSI is first or second seed, right? So they're all very strong, and especially looking at LPLTK, especially in scrims, they play super fast. But I think the biggest thing for us is we're just too slow at figuring out what we want to do. And if we don't know what we want to do, we just cannot compete here. So we will need to figure that out before we return in summer.
Yeah. There's a interesting situation where I feel like early on in your career you were finding a ton of success and winning, and obviously you're still doing well enough to make it to prestigious events like MSI, but it's not to the same level as the early days of your time on G2 with those lineups. How are you managing this sort of era? Because I'm sure, I think for a lot of people they sort of have the inverted spot where they start off and it's like a struggle, and then they finally break through. So for you personally, how do you manage these times where it's a little bit more rough?
Yeah, it's definitely difficult. I think the first big slump was season 11, right? I think before that it was always went a little bit better every year, but season 11 I started going down a lot, and we just didn't make worlds for the first time, and we failed 3rd and 4th place. And after that I was definitely quite devastated, and I didn't really know what to do with myself for a while, but eventually I ended up getting some confidence back and just getting back on the horse, and since then, obviously, season 12, 13, and 14 as well last year, we've been doing better. It's not as good as it was before. I think it's definitely a lot harder to compete with LPL and LCK these days, but we are kind of experiencing a downturn again now in this year, and I'm just trying to make it as short-lived as possible.
Yeah.
I think a big inspiration is also Faker, right? I think when I was 13, I was watching him win his first Worlds, and I was like, oh, I want to be there. I want to hold that trophy. And he also had this huge downturn around season 8. Of course, losing season 7 World Final was a downturn for him as well.
Yeah.
Which is kind of crazy, but to see him then now win the last 2 Worlds, it really shows that if you have the passion and if you have the will to keep grinding, even if it is looking difficult, and even if the splits are looking very tough, they almost didn't make playoffs and stuff, you can turn it around. So
it's so funny. I've been doing this for so long that I still think of you as a somewhat newer player, which is obviously not the case. Especially, I was shocked to hear the stat, which I know they've already asked you about, which was about you having the second most international appearances or matches now. How do you view yourself? Do you feel like an old man within the LEC? Do you feel like you're kind of in the middle of these days? What do you think?
I'm definitely starting to. I think maybe this year more so than others, because I think it's the first time that I'm the oldest guy on the team.
Yeah.
And I think that's always a bit of weird, because even in school I was the youngest, and in my family I was the youngest among my siblings and stuff. So it's always been the youngest, and time kind of just flew by as well. It kind of makes me a little bit sad as well, because I had so many Worlds, so many MSIs, so many chances to really make a difference and try and win Worlds and stuff, but it never really happened. But at the end of the day, it's the past is the past, and I will just try and make myself do better for summer.
Well, and to your point, I think for players who are at the top of their game, or just the really great players like yourself, these things do tend to go in cycles. As you pointed out, even Faker's had dry spells. So like regardless of you being around for a while or being the oldest player on your team, I'm sure you guys are still going to be able to accomplish awesome things in your career.
Thank you.
Hopefully things beyond what you've accomplished. In the short term, though, one thing I know that Inspired talks a lot about is feeling very disappointed with the chances to practice and prepare in North America, just because he feels like his team is so good that it's like he has a hard time getting competition. I know there's also been a lot of conversation lately about LEC having a drop-off in skill and competition and competitive parity. Do you feel that? Do you feel like it's harder for G2 to get the practice they need to succeed on the international stage?
Maybe the last 2 years. I think last 2 years scrims felt a bit, I mean, they were not useless because they will still learn stuff, but it was definitely not as useful as like the scrims we got when we got international teams. Like I remember our first MSI was really like an eye-opener, right? To play against the LPL SK team with that team. I think this time around we're struggling, not struggling, but we're definitely a lot more even matched, and I think we still have a long way to go to be at the top of Europe, like consistently.
Yeah.
Obviously we finished second, and we finished second, so we had a chance of winning the final as well, but we're far away from like consistently being the best, like we're not even number one, so we still have many things to learn in Europe.
Yeah, that's fair. Is there anything that you want to say to any of the fans out there?
I mean, obviously I will say a big thank you. I think it's amazing how much support we always receive. Even going on stage, everyone waving at us and cheering for us, and even when we're like our backs against the wall, 0-2 down, it gives like a lot of confidence to have it. I'm sorry we didn't make it count this time, but we will definitely be back, and we will not let this be a continuing thing.
Thank you so much for the interview. Best of luck at Worlds, as I'm sure we'll be seeing you there. For everyone else, you can check out the rest of my coverage of all things MSI right here on my YouTube channel. I get to visit big arenas like this quite often. The esports life is filled with glamour as you travel to new cities and all this stuff, but it's also a lot of work. And that's great, but it does tire me out. And sometimes, I think it would also be nice to not just be in a big arena, but maybe also on a beach, sipping a nice drink as a cool breeze washes over you. You can imagine it right now. And that's what I got to do recently, because I went on an awesome trip down to Puerto Vallarta by Enchanted Travel. They hooked me up because they are big League esports fans, previously TSM fans. I didn't hold that against them. We're all kind of recovering, But either way, they set me on this trip because they reached out and they said, hey, we're fans of your work and we think it'd be cool to partner with you. And unlike a lot of the major companies that reach out to me, this is a family travel agency in Nebraska. And so it took me a little bit to figure out what to do, but we landed on the idea that they'd send me on a trip and I would get to tell you about what it was like working with them. And by the way, it was awesome. Enchanted Travel prioritizes customer service above all else. They worked with me to figure out the types of places I wanted to visit, what I was looking for, and then gave me a couple of different options to help me choose from those. And they will never send you on a trip to a resort or location that they have not been to previously, which is really great. Because unlike just going to a website and filtering through a bunch of different options, you get a chance to work with somebody who is very familiar with the property and can tell you exactly what to do. And it's start to finish. They help you book the plane, they help you book anything that you need to get to the resort. Once you land, they help you book the resort, and you can always call them instead of calling some faceless organization online. And what you might be thinking is like, oh, travel agency, there's gonna be all these extra fees, it's so much cheaper to book online. You're wrong, actually, because I thought that, and it's completely untrue, because what they do is they make their money by working with the resorts themselves. So you're not paying extra fees, you're not paying any kind of premium working with them. So all I'm saying is, look, I know we live in a world where you can just go online, you can book stuff through like a credit card company or through, I don't know, a travel website or something like that. But just when you're thinking about going on vacation, give them a try. There's a link in the description below. It's neat to work with a group that also are League of Legends fans, and Josh over there was super cool. And if you mention my name, they will hook you up with a little gift as well if you do make your booking through them. So give them a try. Let's all, work together as League esports fans. That's where we're at these days,